Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
What up, what up, what up? This your boy X coming to you from PressPlayOnYourDestiny.com. And I want to talk to y'all today about hardships, life. And more specifically, how to have faith or belief, whatever you want to call it, when times really, really get hard. And I can draw a parallel to this subject because I myself, like I'm pretty sure hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of other people have experienced. Um, I've been the person who was known to always choose the hard path in life. And a lot of people, a lot of family, always said, I was the one that made a lot of bad decisions. I was kind of um, the rebel or the renegade for the most part, and so life had a lot to teach me in the sense of being this renegade person. And I got to learn a lot about having faith and belief. Faith to me is more of a term we use in religion. It can be used interchangeably with the word belief, just to simply have belief. And whatever you believe in, you might believe in God, you might believe in Allah, you might believe in Buddha, you might believe in the all, you might believe in the absolute. Any belief in anything higher than you, or like your higher self, it requires you to have a measure of faith or belief in it in order for things to really manifest. And when I say manifest, I mean most of us, we pray to God when things are going wrong or even when things are going right sometimes, but for the most part we all pray when things are going wrong in our lives. And it's belief in this supernatural power that is what honestly gives us hope to keep going. For the most part, I think prayer kind of acts as it acts like a band-aid to heal temporary wounds. It's almost like A&D ointment on a wound. We know it'll make it better, maybe not right away, but eventually. And that's what I think kind of prayer is for most of us. Which this is gonna kind of go into my own personal story. So, about a year ago, and you'll be surprised at what can happen in a year. And I have tons of other stories, but this is probably one of the more profound stories or things that have ever happened in my life. And I hope it can serve as some form of encouragement to you to, you know, to show you that you can endure and that it may be for a while. And as bad as it might seem, it might get hard. You might want to give up, but don't give up. Having a belief and being positive and continuously growing yourself, you will see the fruits of your labor, even though it doesn't seem that way. Um, so about a year ago, my wife and I, well, I'm gonna back up. This is about 2 years ago. Okay, my wife and I were in a situation where we were getting ready to get a divorce. Okay, and I mean, for any of you that have ever been in a situation, if you're married or even if you're not married, let's just say you had a spouse or a somebody, a partner that you were with, you guys were together for a long time, and you probably was on the brink of breaking up or getting a divorce. You can definitely relate. So my wife and I, we were getting ready to get a divorce. This was at the time where I told you in one of my other videos that I had got out of the mental health facility. See, one of the reasons too why I do these videos is because um I know what it's like to lose your mind, to get put in a mental health facility, to look in the mirror and tell you you love yourself. And conversely, I was also on the opposite side of working in a mental health facility. I worked in the facility and then I got put in the facility myself. So trust me, I understand, If you're sitting here saying, well, how can you relate? Trust me, from doing drugs to being put in mental health facilities to sleeping on the streets, trust me, I understand. I done been through it all. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say I've been through it all, but at my age, I've experienced quite a few things. And um, so me and my wife were getting ready to break up or get a divorce rather, and then to fast forward the story some, we ended up getting back together almost a year later. So when we got back together, we didn't have our kids at the time. Like I said, we were both kind of known as the people that didn't make the best decisions in life. So my father and my stepmom and my family decided to take over when it came to raising my kids. So, well, our kids, I apologize because it's me and my wife's children, to raising our kids. And so we didn't have our kids for a while. It almost had been a year. We had two kids. Um, and we were just ready to raise our own kids, and we didn't want other people to raise our children for us. We felt like we were more than capable of raising our kids, but certain people felt otherwise because of the decisions we made in life. And trust me, life, you will go through this cycle in life of making bad decisions. So whenever you make a bad decision, don't beat yourself up for making a bad decision, because that's the only way you learn and grow in life. Okay. So moving on. So my wife and I, there are several events that happen in between us getting back together and getting our kids. So what happened was we end up getting back together, and maybe a couple of months down the line, we end up getting our kids back. Okay, we stayed in Jacksonville, Florida. If anybody who's familiar with Florida, that is about 6 to 8 hours away from Miami, where our kids were. So we went down south. We went and got our kids. Now at this point, we didn't have a plan. We was just back together. I didn't have a job. She didn't have a job. But we knew we wanted to raise our kids. And uh, there was a point where we had to make a decision. The decision was we could let our kids stay with my parents and the kids live a decent lifestyle, because of course they got grandparents that love them. They had everything they wanted, or they would have to come back with us and struggle with us. Luckily, we have our kids were very young at the time, and they're still young, but too young. Most kids when they're around a certain age, the only thing that matters to them is fun. The environment, they're not paying attention to the environment. It's just about having fun. So my wife, we came up with the idea to move to California. Now, I had been in Florida my whole life. It was scary to move to another state, especially not having anything and then moving that far away. But my wife was like, you know what? I think it's something we need to do. We can stand on our own 2 feet. I was petrified. So naturally, my fear of leaving um, kept me in Florida. My wife and my kids left me. They left me and they moved to California, and I felt horrible as a man that I would let my family go forth without me, and because of my fears, my own personal fears. And so I talked to my mom, and she gave me some encouragement and really gave me the motivation and the drive that I needed to just kind of get up and go. And she said, "Well, the same supreme power that you believe in, the same all that you believe in here in Florida." Is if that is the all, if God is the God of all in all, then He's not just the God of Florida, but the God of California and any other place you decide to go. And so when I grasped and actually understood that, I was ready to go. I understood now the vastness and how big God was, and how much I was limiting God, by assuming that God would just be able to take care of us, in our little place in Florida, which we weren't doing that good anyway. So I was like, well, moving, you know what I mean? Probably, what's the worst that could happen? Struggle some more. See, the thing about struggle is once you get into the struggle, it's like a cycle. You know what I mean? You get into the struggle. Sometimes you might end up doing good. You got your highs and lows and struggle, and that's the same thing with life. But when you struggling, when you at that point, see, there's a difference. Some people say it's one thing to be doing bad, but then it's something else to be struggling. Two completely different things. You might work and you might be used to getting a 60-hour a week check, and you get 30 hours a week and your check kind of short. You doing bad, kind of. You know what I mean? But when you don't have no money, when you living from house to house, you don't have no job, or your mind, you struggling. That there's a difference between doing bad and struggling, and I want y'all to understand that. So moving on. So my dad was like, you know what? I don't think you're making a good move by going to California. You don't have nothing. But let me tell y'all where faith comes in. When your creator tells you something and you know what's on the inside that you're gonna be okay, what anybody else says does not matter. It doesn't, okay? And I want to put that out there to y'all. It does not matter whatsoever. Okay. And if as long as you stick with that and you have the faith and you hold on to your faith, your creator will bless you. And so I got on the bus a couple of maybe a week later. I got on the bus. And one thing about willpower is if you want something bad enough, you can will it into existence. You can speak it into existence. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get to California. Mind you, I didn't have a job. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna get there. An uncle I hadn't talked to for years. I told him about my situation. He paid for my bus ticket and I left the same day. You see what I mean? But it had to get strong enough within me. It was a burning desire. And so circumstances and situations will play into your favor once you really decide what it is you really want. Like I told you about manifesting the will. You have to have a desire, a deep down desire, nothing superficial. It has to be a desire. And when you have a deep desire, trust me, the all God will know that you're sincere about it and will make situations come together to help you get to your desire. So I finally, this was a 3 day trip on the Greyhound bus to California. Okay, so the whole time, me and the Absolute having conversations about what I'm supposed to be doing when I get there and everything like that. Met a couple of cool people on the bus on the way there. Had a couple of stops. Stopped in Alabama. Stopped in uh, I think I stopped in Texas. I stopped in a bunch of different places, and I had a ball on the way there. I didn't have much money. I didn't really have any money. I didn't have anything. I got on the bus and left the same day. My uncle was like, "I think you should go now." I was like, "Okay." At first, the reality kicked in when he was like, I'm thinking he gonna give me the money like next week. He had the money right then, and he was like, "Well, you want me to pay for the ticket now?" He paid for my ticket now. I got on the bus in a couple of hours. I was scared, but again, what was for me was for me. So fast forward the story a little bit. I get to California. I meet up with my wife. Now, the biggest thing I was afraid of was coming to this other state and becoming homeless. Um, Already as a man, us men have ego issues too. You know what I mean? And we feel bad about not being able to provide for our family. I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all my honest to God truth. Just like I don't believe, and this is my opinion, I don't believe a mother that carries a child for 9 months in her stomach would just willingly want to neglect her child. I'm sorry, or give it up for adoption. I just don't think willingly. And I believe that a lot of people don't understand about men, a man won't do the same thing either. You want to know why there's a lot of single mother homes? Because your man left because he felt like he couldn't take care of y'all. That was the real issue. And if you dig down deep to any man, his fears of why he leaves his family, it's because he almost feels that he is undeserving or inadequate to raise his family. So it's easier to leave than to stay there and to experience the embarrassment and shame because us men have ego issues. I'm just being real with y'all. I'm being 100% real. No man who's with his woman or whatever the case is just wants to not, at some point, either in the process of him having the child or the child being born, that man is going to think about his responsibility as a man. And it's going to all boil down to the fact that he might have felt like he was a coward. And then it even get deeper than that because it depends on what kind of role models he had. He might start feeling like he might be like his father. A lot of people don't have fathers nowadays. You see what the psychological trauma of why a man might leave his family goes a lot deeper than what society shows. Oh, a man just don't want to take care of his responsibility. No, have y'all evaluated the man? Have y'all figured out what the hell is really wrong with him? I get passionate because, they say our dark skinned brothers, we neglect our responsibilities as men. And I talk to men that leave their baby mamas and find out the real reasons they left. It'll blow y'all mind. Anyway, back to the story. So, get to California. I'm like, I don't want this to happen. And anybody that knows about the law of attraction knows that whatever you really, 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 really want will manifest itself. And whatever you really, 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 really don't want will also manifest itself. And to me, to be homeless with my family, my wife and my kids would be like death. It would be worse than death to me. And when I got to California, you could only imagine what happened to me when I got there. I left. I was like, you know what? It's gonna be all good. God gave me my reassurance, and when I stepped off the bus, that's when the reality really kicked in. I stepped off the bus and had to lug my luggage around and find a place to stay as soon as I got off the bus. And from there, it got even worse. It got even worse. My wife and kids, my sister. The thing was, my sister, she was going to she had a housing voucher, and she couldn't really find a house yet. We was in the new state, and she was still finding a house. So we was getting assistance from different programs, to get hotel vouchers and stuff. But because I had came late, and my family was there before me, I couldn't get in the same housing voucher that they got on. Guess what happened? The saddest news that I heard at 5:30 in the afternoon, when all the shelters are closed and they all filled to the max. You know what I heard? Well, unfortunately, and it was a Friday. This lady told me, she said, "I'm sorry, but your husband can't stay in the hotel with y'all. And if he stay in the hotel with y'all, then y'all will be kicked out the hotel." I wasn't about to let my family sleep on the streets. She said, "He's a big guy. He can fend for himself." I'm telling y'all the God honest truth. My wife can attest to y'all. She said, "He a big man. Won't nobody bother him. Maybe he could find a shelter." No, 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 no. I can't find a shelter. It's past time. About time I get on the bus and get to a shelter, all of them going to be closed. And you know what? They all were closed. Guess what my option was? I slept on the side of the building that my wife and kids were housed in. I slept on the steps. I had a laptop. I had my wife's laptop and a cell phone. And I picked up the Wi-Fi. And as I sat out there all night, I listened to Les Brown, Tony Robbins, being positive, saying you can do it, you can endure. Let me tell you what you got to do when you feel like life is too tough and you can't get through it. Put on something positive, something motivational. Keep the drive. I started listening to Eric Thomas. Success is at the end of pain. To Les Brown, no matter how hard things get or how bad it is, I'm still gonna make it. And I sat out there and it was cold that night. And I had everything to say to my God except for "I appreciate you for keeping me alive." I had everything else to say though. How could you let me sleep out here? I had even got mad at my wife because I was like, I just knew she was gonna let me in. The truth was I couldn't come in the room. They had cameras. They had a whole back aisle where the families were. And the families that were on this specific program, they had cameras watching every room. So if I would have went into the room, they'd have kicked my family out and we'd have all been on the streets. Well, do you think this was a great introduction to moving to California? Of course not. But I tell you this. I said that I'm going to get on that voucher with my family. I said I'm going to get on the voucher and we going to all have somewhere to stay. I said, you know what? I told her all. I said, you promised me. I said, you promised me that I was not going to come here and live the same life that I lived in Florida, which was a horrible cycle. The next day, miraculously, we went back to the same lady and she said, well, you know what? We can get y'all on a voucher. Not only can we get y'all on a voucher, my wife then was already there for a couple of weeks. They gave us a brand new voucher for a whole nother month with me on it. See, I only had to sleep on the streets for one day, but that one night felt like 100 years. I felt deceived. Any way that you could imagine, I felt that way while I was out there. And it seemed like that was the longest night in the world. It just, could you imagine just sitting on the side of,